Hello, welcome to Watan al-Karama News Service, and we start our news today from Libya. The Air Force of Arab Libyan Armed Forces bombed an oil tanker off the coast of Sirte, burning a large part of it and wounding a number of its crew. Commander of the Air Force, Colonel Sakr al-Jiroushi, said the plane bombed a Greek oil tanker, Light 1, while it was anchoring on the shores of Sirte because the army suspected that the tanker transports weapons and ammunition to terrorist groups. Al-Jiroushi asserted that any acts and moves towards Sirte is suspicious, adding that the city is under the grip of terrorist Daesh group and out of the state's control. Commander of the Western Region Military Operations, Colonel Idris Mahdi, said the army took control of an important district in Watia base. Colonel Mahdi noted that Fajr Libya's militias bombing Al-Watia base resulted in no damage due to the height of launching process. However, the bombing hit an old empty warehouse. He added that the Arab Libyan armed forces succeeded in defeating the militias elements that were retreated from the northeast of Sayyad towards the center of Janzour. Relating to the meeting of Al-Jabal Mountain cities for reconciliations, Mahdi said the army was not a party of this dialogue because it follows the legitimacy and it is not entitled to intervene, adding that the army's main role lies in creating a platform for helping dignitaries and young people in order to reach an agreement that serves the interest of the country and stops the fighting. Spokesman for the General Command of Arab Libyan Armed Forces, Major Mohammed Hijazi, inspected the western district of Benghazi to find out the latest developments of the area. A military source said Major Mohammed Hijazi met with the leader of Armed Forces Battalion number 309 and its soldier. Moreover, he inspected the western district in general and the military needs of the battalion in particular. During the visit, Hijazi also discussed the means of forming a unified media network between all districts and military units specialized in media communication, dealing professionally with news as well as cooperation in accordance with armed forces rules and regulations. Chiefs of staff of the Arab countries agreed to form a joint Arab force in preparation for submission to the presidency of the Arab Summit and delivering its outcome to the Joint Arab Defense Council. Chiefs of staff asserted during the wrap-up session held today at the Arab League headquarters that joining the force will be optional. They also agreed to form a Supreme Defense Council to meet once a year, while each member state delivers military land, sea and air elements in accordance with its potential. Moreover, the contribution to the joint force annual budget will be defined according to the decision of the Supreme Council. The interim government led by Abdullah Thini appointed Brigadier Mustafa Abu Harara as a director of AMSA joint border with Egypt. The decision came during a meeting of cabinet's minister in Al Bayda city. Meanwhile, the cabinet approved the decision of General Authority for Emergency and Crisis to allocate amount of 500,000 dinars out of the authority's budget. Moreover, the council agreed to deliver the National Oil Corporation about 5,700,000 that will be taken from the institution's dues after coordination with Finance and Planning Ministry. In the meantime, the council decided to grant additional amount to the crisis committee in Zintan city. Spokesman for Health Ministry Ahmed Al-Aligi said 35 million out of $1.5 billion have been allocated to be handed to the cabinet for the sake of Health Ministry. Al-Aligi denounced the statement of government spokesman Hatem Al-Arabi in which he asserted that the cabinet is connected with health sector, blaming the cabinet and the finance ministry for current crisis in health sector. Moreover, Al-Aligi stressed that the hospitals in Libya are suffering a shortage of medicine, vaccines and medical supplies, revealing too the need to liquidate the allocated funds as soon as possible to save the hospitals. And now from House of Representatives, the Parliament National Dialogue Delegation handed the chief of the UN support mission in Libya, Bernardino Leon, the Council's note on the UN third draft of political dialogue recorded by the Council members in the Tunisian capital. Official spokesman for the delegation, Isa Abu Gayoum, stressed that the delegation got some preliminary information indicating that there are changes introduced by the UN mission on the third draft political agreement, so that a fourth draft will be offered and will include latest modification to be negotiated in As-Sukhairat by all parties in the 7th of next June. Gulf Cooperation Council foreign ministers met with the European Union representatives in Doha today for the 24th EU-GCC Joint Council and Ministerial Meeting. EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini said the two sides would primarily be discussing the situation in Iraq and Syria, as well as the flow of migrants heading to Europe from Libya. Moreover, Mogherini said during the ministerial meeting in Doha that the Libyan parties should reach a political agreement before the month of Ramadan. In the meantime, the EU Foreign Policy Chief said the Union is committed to reaching an agreement with Iran, guaranteeing that the country will not develop nuclear weapons and use its program for only peaceful purposes. Issues as counter-terrorism, climate change, economic diversifications, energy and research, and innovations were also in the agenda. And now from Egypt, Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry expressed his hope that efforts exerted by the UN envoy to Libya, Bernardino Leon, will succeed, stressing the need to respect the legitimacy of House of Representatives and the interim government. Shoukry further said his country is following the situation in Libya and participate in dialogues held by Leon, adding that Egypt is seeking to reach a settlement to the current crisis through formation of a national unity government. Moreover, Shoukry noted that Egypt will continue its efforts because of its conviction that facing terrorism in Libya, overcoming challenges and restoring unity and stability of the Libyan territory is directly subject to reaching agreement by the Libyan parties to solve the current political crisis. This item from Yemen, Saudi-led airstrike bounded military sites in the Yemeni capital Sana'a today as the coalition aimed at ousting Shiite Houthi rebels intensified in its attack in the 8th week of the conflict. The airstrikes followed intense clashes between Saudi forces and the Houthi militias on the Saudi-Yemeni border, destroying part of the main Hardath border crossing between the two countries overnight. An Arab alliance has been bombing Yemen's dominant group, the Houthi militias, and have backed the Yemeni fighters opposing the group in battlefields throughout the Yemen's south. Iraqi forces regain ground from terrorist Daesh militants in western Iraq, advances towards the city of Ramadi 1 week after it fell to the insurgents. Iraqi forces drive towards Ramadi 1 week after the city fell to the extremist Daesh group. Shiite militias, Iraqi security forces and pro-government tribal fighters regained ground in a counter-offensive against the insurgents who pushed east after overrunning Ramadi. A US-led coalition has been bombing terrorist Daesh group from the air after the group seized oases of Iraq and Syria and proclaimed a caliphate last year. And now from Burundi, a Burundi opposition figure and his bodyguard were shot dead in the capital by gunmen, a civil society activist and resident said, adding to tensions after a month of protest against President Nkurunziza's bid for the third term. Meanwhile, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged Burundi's government and its opponents not to let violence derail United Nations-sponsored talks after the killing of the opposition leader prompted some opponents to say they would walk out. The EU, the biggest donor to aid relief Burundi, echoed the condemnation and urged all parties to engage in good faith in political dialogue. President Nkurunziza's decision to run for another 5 years in office has triggered the worst crisis in the African country since the end of an ethnically charged civil war in 2005. And finally, from India, people across North India are really under soaring temperature and subsequent heat wave for some time now, and the trend continued today also. At least 335 deaths have been reported across India due to the heat wave. Meanwhile, Agra city is also witnessing a severe heat wave with temperatures hovering around 45 degrees Celsius. The country's capital, New Delhi, also suffered from severe heat wave, and the trend is likely to continue for at least some more days, as the meteorological department has predicted to immediate relief from heat wave in India. India has long suffered deadly heat waves. Period of extreme temperatures have led to thousands of deaths since 1990. Northern, western and central parts of India remain under intense heat waves from mid-April to July before monsoon rains hit the region, providing relief to people. Ukrainian police said heavy shelling has killed one civilian in the government-controlled town of Avdiivka in East Ukraine and halted production at one of Europe's largest coke plants. Ukrainian servicemen said the plant had taken a number of hits, adding that the shelling had gone on for a long time. Avdiivka, which had a population of around 35,000 before the conflict erupted last year, is on territory controlled by government forces, but it lies close to the front line, and the Ukrainian military has accused separatists of attacks since the ceasefire came into force in mid-February. My audience, that is a wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.watanalkarama.tv. Thanks for being with us. See you.